Welcome to the channel. We have Halloween music. This is your idea, Chris, right?
Was. Yep.
I'm always looking for music that changes the mood. When it comes to Halloween, I'm on board. And I sort of like separate it in my thinking. It's like there's haunted house sound effects kind of records, and then there's gothic and folk horror movie soundtracks. I ran across a lot of covers that were really scary, but the music didn't live up to it. So this is my grab ass bag of whatever spooks or casts a spell, and you have to be very careful where you linger.
Well, I didn't try to find scary music. I just looked for records that sort of fit the theme. And I got one that actually some people might think is kind of scary, but is more just awesome in a dark, cartoonish way. And the other is just sort of in left field, like, what the fuck? Why did they adopt a Halloween theme for this record? Kind of. All right. So my first record is probably the most Halloween centric record in my collection. It's Samhain's third album. Um, Samhain were the band Glenn Danzig formed in between the Misfits and going solo. And they were sort of an in-between band in a whole bunch of ways, and they're actually sort of my favorite Glenn Danzig project too. Um, Glenn Danzig, if you don't know him, I don't know, he's a heavy music icon. Um, Most influential Short Kings, along with Ronnie James Dio. Um, but yeah, he was the driving force behind the Misfits, one of the famous punk hardcore bands in the world, and he went on to hard rock superstardom in the 90s, just on his own. But Sam Hain in the middle were something different. They had a lot of the same thematic kind of stuff that the Misfits had. There's definitely some punk in here, but there's a lot of goth, sort of death rocky sort of stuff. There's definitely a bit of a metal edge to some of the songs as well. But this is really its own thing, and it's really got kind of like a goth tinge. And there's just a ton of great songs. As you can tell, the art is extremely Halloween appropriate. My second one is a record from 1998 by the South African group TKZee, named somewhat inexplicably Halloween. These guys were a Kwaito group, Kwaito being a particularly South African blend of house music, uh, some local South African musical styles, some R&B and some hip hop, sort of all thrown together. It's super catchy. These guys were just massive in South Africa in the 1990s. That's when I discovered them. Um, and every song on here is pretty infectious, uh, danceable in that low key, slow BPM kind of way that Kwaito tends to have. Um, the intro song actually begins with like the sound of like a creaking door that could be, you know, taken directly from, like a Halloween sound effects record. But beyond that, I don't know why it's called Halloween. But other songs, these guys were magpies. They sampled from all over the place. There's a song, one of their songs is built around the melody from Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi. Another is built around like the South African Liberation song. And another is weirdly, it took me a while to place it. It's basically the Sanford and Son theme, but put to dance music, and it works. So, really cool record. It's on streaming. You can check it out if you want.
So I have the soundtrack to Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, which is a movie from 72, and the composer is Lubos Fiser. So this movie was considered the last of the Czech New Wave, and it's basically the story of the dreams of a premenstrual witch, which the censors attacked relentlessly because Valerie is actually burned naked at the stake in the movie. So the movie, what is it? It's either a surrealist fairy tale, a rural horror movie, a macabre folktale, or a freak folk soundtrack. In fact, the freak folk revival of the 2000s, they actually covered some of the songs on this. I don't know which artists, but as usual with soundtracks, it's got the theme, which actually the first half is happy and the second half is eerie. And of course, that's repeated throughout the album and in different contexts, in different keys, so they change it up a little bit. This album is full of ritual chanting, choruses, sections of Catholic Mass, organ and orchestra together with bell tones, harp, timpani. There's a lot going on here, a lot of short songs. And overall, it's pensive and disembodied. I'm going to keep it in my soundtrack section.
Sounds like a Finders Keepers record.
And very spooky overall. Yes, and then I also have this is from the sort of pop band broadcasts, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't listen to that kind of music so much. But in this case, this is a soundtrack called Berberian Sound Studio from the 2012 film by Pete Strickland. So he approached the two of the members from broadcast. Let's just call them James and Trish. And the reason I mention that is Trish died midway of making this album. So it's basically they were approached to do the film within this film because it does take place in an editing bay for films, but it harkens back to something much more ancient and primeval, let's say. So how he made the album is he took the sound and dialogue and reconfigured it. He sort of cannibalized this film after it was done and added synth, mellotron, drums, and then Trisha's vocals. And it was actually, I found out in researching this, that it was inspired by Valerie and her Week of Wonders album. So there is a connection there. In this case, the soundtrack theme, which is repeated in very different contexts, where there's improvisation, synthesizer mostly, going over the theme. And the theme is an eerie nursery rhyme. There's nothing happy about this repeated motif that goes throughout. Overall, it's got maniacal vocalese, screams, choirs, and jabberings of like a mental ward. And the overall effect is also mesmerizing in its contrast and the way they use counterpoint around the melodies. So it's really quite an achievement. It's got Baroque organ with eerie voices, sonic rumblings, and the mood seems to evolve towards something more ancient than the contemporary setting of which this film takes place. So it really pulls you towards the sinister, like a sad night in a mythical forest. And it's a top tier soundtrack in my collection.
Y'all like a Yeti.
Glenn Danzig, facts. Such a
Such
weirdo.
a weirdo.
He has some
He has
house
some
in
house in
LA. Like
LA.
it's like a
Like
haunted
it's like a
house
haunted
almost. Like
house
I don't think he
almost.
lives
Like I
there.
don't think he lives there.
This creepy house that Glenn Danzig has that he doesn't live in.
Keeps his prey there.
I mean, the Misfits and Black Flag shared a ton of bills. They were buddies.
Buddies.
Especially when I listen to GISM, I just want to go out and fight.
GISM, acronym for God in the Schizoid Mind, Guerrilla Incendiary Sabotage Mutineer.
Like he's restoring a church. It involves like a dead child. Who wants that?
Would you like Wazoo?
No, I mean, if they're really powerful like that, you really don't need so many.
Samhain were
The first day of November, celebrated by the ancient Celts as a festival marking the beginning of winter.